Hey, listen, ka nui te me kia koutou, kia ora, good afternoon everybody. It is wonderful to be here. Can I just say thank you so much for all of your support. It is fantastic to be back here in Hamilton. Tama Potaka reminds us every single day that this is the city of the future, and it is great to be with you all here as we celebrate capital of the future. That's what we call mission creep, my friend. But it is great to be here at the CNI conference again. And before I begin, can I just take some time to acknowledge some outstanding members of our team? And first of all, I just want to acknowledge our amazing, our incredible president of this party, Sylvia Wood. Give her a big round of applause. Because I can't imagine anybody else that we would want leading us going into the 90th year of the National Party. And I had a great privilege of meeting Neville over lunch. He's clocking up 94 years, although we determined that his average age, we all thought around the table, was 72. And he tells me he's been a member since 1961. So, and has met every National Party Prime Minister. But can I say also a big shout out to our Northern Regional Chair, Susan Bater. Thank you for your passion, thank you for your dedication to our party. And on behalf of all of us here, can I say to Sylvia and Susan and all of our board and all of our officials, thank you for the work you do in the party and in the region and across the whole of the country. Can I give a big round of applause? Can I give a very special shout out to my very good friend and our amazing deputy leader, our incredible finance minister. She's going to go down as one of the best in the history of this country, I'm telling you now. You heard it from me first. The incredible Nicola Willis. You just heard an amazing address. Give her a big round of applause. Nicola and I came together back in the late 2021 and we've been on this incredible ride together, and it's just such a great partnership that we have, and I so enjoy working with us in the way that we do so closely. It's so important and so good to have you here. Can I just acknowledge all of the MPs who are working incredibly hard in their communities, but also up and down in Wellington, helping get New Zealand back on track. Thank you very much, team, for everything you're doing in your communities in Wellington and as part of our National Party team. It's going to be a great session this afternoon when you get time with Simeon Brown, who's our awesome campaign chair. He's doing an incredible job as Minister of Health as well. I know he and his team are going to put you through their paces this afternoon as we get battle ready for the election on November the 7th. Because we are certainly going to ask a lot of you over the next few months, because New Zealand needs a strong National Party in order to secure and build a more secure future for this country. And look, I know the last few years have been incredibly difficult for New Zealand. You know, we have faced shock after shock after shock. And just think about it, we've gone through COVID, we've gone through high inflation and a recession, we've gone through extreme weather events, we've had Trump's tariffs, and now we've got a fuel crisis in the Middle East as well. And I know that it can all feel pretty tiring and feel very overwhelming, because it just feels like we're getting back up on our foils and another wave comes along and knocks us down again. And when you're a small trading nation like New Zealand, you actually feel that twice as hard. But I have to level with you, as I did through the course of the last week, and when I said the world is genuinely changing. We are at an inflection point in our history where we're shifting from a world that's been ordered by rules to increasingly a world that's ordered by power. And as I said, countries are now moving from working together under international law to much more transactional relationships without those shared rules in place. And in that setting, what happens is the stronger nations do as they please, and smaller countries have to adjust. And so you see it with flagrant breaches of national sovereignty. Think about Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, which illustrates that changing order that we're seeing out there in the world. And there are forces in global politics that none of us can fully control, but the call to all of us is to control what we can control, how prepared we are, how resilient we are, and how well we stick together. Because in a much more volatile world, we've got to focus on controlling what we can control, and that starts here at home. It starts by strengthening our collective national security so we make a stronger and more secure New Zealand here at home. And that's how we navigate a more volatile and uncertain world. Now, I think in many ways we're already responding to that challenge, although my call in the last week is that we have to step up again and go through a period of nation building to make New Zealand stronger and more secure. But we're working harder to develop our own domestic energy independence and security. by ending the offshore oil and gas ban that was enacted by Labour, the Greens and Yes New Zealand First, by clearing away a jungle of red tape to enable a boom in renewable energy that we're now experiencing, through fast track, through RMA reform and a range of other regulatory changes. We're investing more in our Defence Force, allowing us to support both our own national security but also the resilience of the wider region that we're part of called the Indo-Pacific. And we're building out, right from day one, a bigger lattice work of new trade arrangements and relationships, which in turn provides New Zealand and our businesses and our business community with more opportunities to actually go out and export into the world and more markets in a more volatile and uncertain world. Just take the work of Todd McClay and the work that he's done on the Indian FTA. They said we couldn't do it, and yet we did. And I want to give Todd a big round of applause. I'm telling you, that is a landmark agreement. That is going to reduce or eliminate tariffs on 95% of our exports to India, on everything from lamb and wine to kiwi fruit and honey and infant formula. And in a more volatile world, that gives our exporters a shot at a new market, new customers, and also a real chance to diversify our trade and to reduce our reliance and exposure to the risk of further disruption offshore. And many of you in this room, you run businesses, and no responsible business owner would allow themselves just to become reliant on one or two customers only, without working round the clock to do everything you can to bring in new work and also new opportunities. And so as a small trading nation, we have to take exactly that same approach. And that's why we prioritise India, and that's why we're going to keep deepening our ties offshore with old friends and also new partners. Now, of course, not everyone has agreed with the Indian FTA. The same people who were frankly wrong on the China FTA, they were wrong on the TPP, and they are wrong backing and opposing the Indian FTA again. And I can tell you they were wrong then, and they're wrong again here as well. Now look, just a few months ago, I announced that the election would be held on November the 7th. And I've seen some journalists and some commentators, you may have seen it as well, suggest in recent weeks that what they'd love to see is what a National and Labour grand coalition. Yeah. How do you like that idea? Yeah, well, I've got to tell you, they've got to get real, right? Because that is not going to be happening for very good reasons. And the reason is that our team has spent 2.5 years trying to fix the ungodly mess left behind by the Labour Party. And I want you to think about it. Inflation sitting at 32-year highs. Debt skyrocketing, exactly as Nicola just explained to you. Daily ram raids. You know, there was a time when Paul and Mark and myself and Tama and Ryan, we'd go around Hamilton actually checking out stores that had been ram raided the night before. Co-governance of public services. Reading and writing going backwards and not many kids showing up at school. And worst of all, Labour trying to teach Kiwis that the solution to any and every problem was quite simply spend more, tax more, borrow more, and more government control over your life. Well, I've got to tell you, New Zealand cannot go back, and New Zealand will not be going back. And I know everyone here that's in this room came to fight for the values that each of us believe in. And they are quite simply limited government, personal responsibility, lower taxes, and the importance of family and community. They are your values, they're my values, and they're National's values. And we are the party that backs Kiwis getting up for early morning shifts at the milking shed. You know, we are the party for mums and dads that are on that school run. We are the party for the next generation, for a world-leading education and the best possible start in life. And even if that means the odd teenager is grizzling about the loss of their mobile phones in class, we'll deal with that because we actually believe in them, we care about them, we love them and want them to have a better future. But we're the party that backs all Kiwis who are willing to put in some effort, and that whether that be the seasoned business owner or the teenager applying for their first job. So in the weeks and months ahead, as we start to lay out our party platform and our policies for this year's election, you can expect to see our party values on full display, with policies that don't shy away from the tough decisions, but actually are designed to empower Kiwis to be able to get ahead. And the message that we need to send out to all Kiwis over the next 6 months is pretty simple. And it's quite simply, if you want a stronger economy and a government focused on helping you get ahead, it's easy. Party, vote, National. And if you want lower taxes and balanced books and a smaller government, party, vote, National. And if you want a more secure New Zealand with a government that cracks down on criminals and builds the defence force we need for a modern world, then you've got to party, vote, National. And if you want real results in our schools and our hospitals, a government that achieves more with every single taxpayer dollar, you've got a party vote national. Pretty simple, right? Don't need any strategic voting, very simple. 2 ticks blue is the message for everybody. That's the only way forward. And I remember addressing this event back in 2023 and saying that it was on every single one of us to ensure that National won the election. The country needed us, and so every bit mattered. Every door knocked, every leaflet delivered, every chat with a neighbour over the back fence mattered. Well, I've got to say, you got out and you delivered. And I know, as Nicola alluded to before, that our team in Parliament has spent every moment of the last 2.5 years driving change to repay the faith that you showed us. I just want to say, look at Nicola Willis getting the books in order so that we can deliver smaller government and reduce the pressure on inflation. Nicola has taken a razor to consultants and wasteful spending. I think she's taken about $1 billion out of Wellington consultants and contractors. We've delivered tax relief for the first time to hard-working Kiwis for the first time in 14 years, saving 1.9 million households $60 a week. As well as that, we've offered up Family Boost childcare tax credit, which is worth up to $120 per week. And we've helped increase New Zealand super for a married couple by $180 a fortnight since the election. So we know it's tough for Kiwis as we all deal with crisis after crisis. But that's why it's so important to have responsible economic management in charge. Because being able to withstand all of those international shocks and crises depends on the size of the economic buffers that you have. And National is rebuilding those buffers so that we can restore our financial security, which in turn creates a stronger and more secure New Zealand in that more volatile world. Just look at the work of Erica Stanford and what she's been leading on education. Because parents are ambitious for their kids, but National is ambitious for your kids. That's why National is delivering the biggest reform to our education system in a generation, and it's all because we want to set up our kids for a brighter future. Look at what National has achieved. We've banned the cell phones in classroom. We've implemented an hour each of maths, reading and writing, every classroom across the country. We've implemented structured literacy, which is one way, same way, every day, of teaching reading to our kids across all our schools. We're replacing the curriculum for 5 to 13-year-olds so that kids learn the basics brilliantly in a very defined curriculum that advances year by year. We've got a new teaching trial delivering 12 months of maths progress. Think about that. Kids who are behind by up to 12 months, we're catching them up in just under 12 weeks with remedial attention and support. We're bringing back we're replacing NCA, we're bringing back something called grades, that they go from A+ to E. It's a novel idea instead of the words, but that's a good thing to be doing. And we're putting an end to the failed experiment of barnyard open plan classrooms. And one of the coolest things we've got now is standardised reporting across the system. So if your kid moves schools or moves classes between teachers, actually parents know where they are and how they're progressing. And again, in the context of how we build a more secure, stronger New Zealand, education is how we literally secure New Zealand's future. Better educated kids means they can access higher paying jobs. That creates more economic security, which in turn creates a stronger, more secure New Zealand in that volatile world. Just look at National's values on proud display with the work of Paul Goldsmith and Mark Mitchell, cracking down on criminals to restore law and order in our communities. And if you remember 3 years ago, ram raids dominated the nightly news. Dairy owners were sleeping behind their counters in their stores. Gangs acted with impunity, brazenly wearing their patches in public and intimidating whole neighbourhoods and whole communities. And the previous government's answer was quite simple. Fewer people in prison, fewer consequences for crime, and more excuses for offenders. And the result was really predictable. Violent crime surged, retail crime exploded, and ordinary Kiwis paid the price. And that era is ending because Paul Goldsmith and Mark Mitchell are restoring law and order by doing what should always have been done. Backing our police, standing up for victims, not offenders, and making it clear that crime has real consequences. And so in our short 2.5 years, we've banned gang patches in public. We've given police stronger powers and put more police out there being visible on the beat. We've restored the 3 strikes for the worst possible offenders, and we've introduced tougher tools like move-on orders to reclaim our central cities. And wouldn't you know it, when you stop making excuses for criminals and you start enforcing the law, it kind of works because serious violent crime is falling fast. We've got 49,000 fewer victims of serious violent crime from when this government came to office. Youth offending is down 22%. Gang intimidation is being rolled back. And remember those daily ram raids we talked about here in Hamilton and across the country? Well, ram raids across New Zealand are down 85%. Now, I have to tell you, they're just not abstract numbers or statistics. When you think about it, that is fewer shopfronts smashed up, that is fewer traumatised workers coming to your workplace, that's fewer families living in fear as a consequence of those common sense actions and plans that we put in place around restoring law and order. And restoring consequences for crime is not about being tough just for the sake of it, it's about actually backing our police who put themselves in harm's way, and it's about always standing on the side of victims, not offenders. And again, it's about building a safer New Zealand to support greater social cohesion, which in turn creates a stronger and more secure New Zealand. However, there's always more that we can do, and too often we continue to see our criminal justice system prioritise the interests of an offender over the rights of the victim, and particularly in instances of sexual violence and violence against women. Like me, I'm sure you've read many cases where following conviction for sexual offending, an offender, often young, often male, relies on a so-called good character reference to reduce their sentence. And essentially, as the law is written today, judges are required to take into account testimony from individuals willing to speak to an offender's character. So think former coaches, employers and family members that are willing to state on the record that any offending is the exception, not the rule. Well, I have to say to you, I think that's an absolute disgrace. No sexual offender is a person of good character, period. And no victim should have to sit in a courtroom and hear how that individual who robbed them of their dignity deserves a discount at sentencing, all because of a statement from a former running coach or a school principal. And I don't care if you were a good athlete, and I don't care if your manager liked that you turned up on time to work, but that victim in the courtroom is your character, your conviction is your character, and no sympathetic statement to the contrary should play a role in their sentencing. So today, I'm announcing that if elected, National is going to abolish sentencing discounts for good character assessments. No sex offender is a person of good character, and that's as far as it goes. This builds on our previous work, as you think about it, to limit the discounts that judges are able to apply at sentencing to 40%. Giving sexual violence victims the power to determine whether their perpetrators receive permanent name suppression or not. And it's all part of our work building on the work about making stalking illegal and a jailable offence as well. And while I'm here, I just do want to acknowledge victims advocate Ruth Money, who has actually advocated for this change for some time. And I want to say to Ruth, thank you for your hard work, thank you for your advocacy, because she is an incredibly tireless representative for victims and their families. And as a national team, yes, give her a round of applause, please. So as a national team, we're proud of our record on law and order. There's always more for us to do, and we're really going to work hard to make this new law a reality as quickly as possible. And so when I say you can expect to see our party values on full display in our election policies, don't take that as a vague promise with no plan. Take that as a commitment of an experienced and common sense team that actually knows how to get things done. A team that is again coming to you to say, look, we need your help. We need you because New Zealand needs us. And our country needs National to keep going, fixing the basics, building the future. And members, make no mistake, this election, like they always are, is about a choice. It's about a choice between a team that is fixing the basics and building the future, and an opposition that has no plan, no delivery, and no idea how to pay for the promises that they're already making. And I am absolutely determined that on November the 7th, New Zealanders will choose to keep going forwards. But we need all of you. We need every single member in this room knocking on those doors, delivering those pamphlets, having the conversations over the back fence, and making the case to party vote National. So I call on you once ago, let's go to work again, let's go remake the case, and let's get out there together. Let's go win this election, and let's build a New Zealand where every single Kiwi gets a fair shot at a better life and our kids get the brightest possible future. Thank you very much, and thank you for your support.